Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you, Bruno, for that nice introduction. Post-lunch sessions, as you know, is a bit difficult, but I'll try my best to keep you awake of some of the emerging experiences of spatial planning platform in India, and more importantly, how spatial planning is now being considered as an important function for developing economic infrastructure. Uh, as you know, as Bruno also mentioned in the morning, this platform of SPP is rapidly emerging as a very important platform in South Asian region. Not only South Asian, rather the Asia-Pacific region. As you remember, some of us were there in Kathmandu early February, very well hosted by Mr. Padma Mainali and his team in a very historic center of Darbar Square. It's a rare occasion, the guests are hosted. And thanks, Mr. Mainali, for giving us a very, very rousing reception in the heart of Kathmandu. And from there, we are now traveled to Balikpapan. Now, what are the key things that we discussed in Kathmandu? Because focus was inclusive climate resilience, how spatial planning is accelerating or advancing action towards climate resilient and inclusive urban development. And in Kathmandu, we had 15 country experiences that shared how, and that's the important part of Kathmandu's lesson was that it shows a different degree or ladder of interventions being initiated at different country contexts. And that's what I think probably we learned. And this platform is emerging as a good platform for peer experience and peer-to-peer learning. So as much we are learning, as much we are sharing, we are also learning from each other. And that's why, and as you know, now we are in this city yesterday, and equally when we were visiting yesterday the Nusantara capital region, we were equally hosted so well by the authority people. I realized when I went back to my hotel room, I had 3 boxes of Holland bakery. Every stop we stopped and somebody came. And more importantly, I don't know, there was also a very cute handbag. And in the evening when I opened up, so nicely 12 items were packed in that bag. 2 life-saving items, one was umbrella and one was cap. You remember that 0 point, how it was helpful. But more importantly, when you open up, you see very meticulously packed items. So I laid on my bed, took a photograph and shared with my countrymen back home because, whenever we give some workshop, they are very, very boring, all technical material. It shows the culture of good planning. So my compliment to the organizer who has really a big round of applause to them because, so well done. I mean, and that shows that how sensitive a planning organization could be, and I'm very, very happy to see that in this. Now, coming back to can it be moved, please? I think we need some technical help there. Yeah. So coming back to the context of what I'm going to share, as you know, India is among one of the countries in the forefront of urbanization. And although in terms of volume and in terms of percentage, we are low, but in terms of absolute number, we are about 11% of world's urban population is living in our city. And we have a very large urban systems, close to about 8,000 towns and cities. And we are expecting they becoming 10,000 because of COVID, we didn't have a last census, and we are expecting them. We are also a world's 5th largest economy, close to about $3 trillion economy. But our challenge is what UN resident coordinator was mentioning, that if you divide that number, there is lot of inequality, the per capita, the regions, there's a lot of spatial inequality also shown by the minister, showing that, the 5% of land area and 60% of your economy is produced only in one island of Indonesia. And we see similar kind of, now our national vision has triggered that we want to be an economy of 10 trillion by 2030. And also by 2045, that is our 100th year of independence, we want to be close to around 30 trillion. And these are very big numbers. And when we are looking at those numbers, we are also now realizing the importance of spatial planning in India. Because traditionally, planning has already only focused only in the urban area. And beyond urban area, how the resources, how the linkages, how the inequality can be, those plannings were necessarily not thought out. And that's what, if you look at global data, urbanization brings development, urbanization brings prosperity, it also brings challenges of inequality, of negative externalities, and spatial planning, probably a tool which probably gives you those spatial. So coming back, that's why we are seeing and what are the kind of experiences, what we are looking at it. If you look at some of the economic geography of some of the global cities and in Indian cities, see, these are the nightlight data over a period of time. You can see the clusters which are emerging. There is a large river delta region called Gangetic River Delta, and you see the nightlight data are becoming more and more prominent. And today's both urbanization and spatial economic geography can be captured quite well in this. But what's happening is that India's this $3 trillion economy, which contributes 65%, two-thirds of that comes from close to about 100 cities. 100 towns and cities out of 8,000 towns and cities. And there are 14 clusters where this economic production jobs are happening around it. Now, these job clusters are essentially not within the city. It is in and around the city, effectively capturing the infrastructure within the city and sprawling outside of that. Now, when you look at that, that what are those economic geographies some of the global cities have? And so far, traditional forms of planning has been only looked at land, built form, housing. We have actually, in India, forgotten that cities are actually labor markets. Cities where jobs are produced, cities where, services are produced. If you look at some of the global cities, like, for example, Tokyo, even some of the South regional cities. And then when you look at our cities, for example, our city, even one of the topmost is Mumbai. It's close to about $310 billion a year. It is very much similar to Jakarta. Jakarta probably will be about $300 billion. The next level, we have certain cities like New Delhi and our national capital. The problem is, when these are economic centers producing so much of economy, they attract a lot of population. Can you guess the population of Mumbai? What would be the population of Mumbai? Any guesses? 20 million. Now, if you want to sustain 20 million population in one center, it is impossible. Now, you have to look at it in the other economic geographic region, that and that's what we have to look beyond urban area. For example, Balikpapan and Samarinda, what is the economy? What is your GDP? In Indonesia, fortunately, has a very good GDP. After $300 billion of Jakarta, your next is Surabaya, which is about $80 billion. And when you come to Balikpapan, which is about $28 billion, Balikpapan, Samarinda, the region I'm talking about. And this is what the trigger. We are learning to work for the economy of regional economy and how do you connect them better in our infrastructure. In India, our Prime Minister, because India has more than 40 ministries, 40 ministries. And ministries don't talk to each other. They have their Traditionally, they have grown and vertical. So when there is a railway ministry is planning something, airport ministry doesn't know. When the airport ministry does doing something, urban ministry doesn't know. And there are two problems in that. One is this isolation or siloization and unable to connect each other, leverage the potential of each other. And nationally, the first time Government of India launched, which is a program called Gati Shakti. Gati is in Hindi called speed, Shakti is power, is the first national master plan for GIS-based master plan for national infrastructure pipeline. So we are connecting it with a set of proposal that if you are developing a port, don't look at port, also look at the hinterland. Or if you are developing a new capital, and I wanted to share with all the young planners from the new capital region, we had burnt our fingers in India planning 3 new capital after independence. You'll realize over a period of time that whenever you plan a boundary, more activity will happen beyond the boundary than within the boundary. And one thing I can offer coming from India, that please pay attention something called inclusion and affordability. Affordable housing and inclusion and affordability. We have developed a tool which is called inclusionary zoning. All your land use colors should also have people who are, otherwise you'll see you have created an island of prosperity and growth and people are staying somewhere. So this is what Gati Shakti, what we are trying to we are trying to connect them with a better infrastructure, and this is what we also call whole of government approach. Yesterday I was asking at the Nusantara that which of those ministries are doing. So I was told at least 2 ministries in leading, because it's a presidential office which is looking at this. But here, the National Prime Minister office is looking at 17 ministries trying to come together. And can you move to the next, please? So this is what we am calling it as a whole of government approach. And whenever we are talking about whole of government approach, we have to bring ministries together, and that's the spatial planning that our experience which is emerging, rather than urban ministry. And India, we have also confusion between urban planning and spatial planning. Because we have to understand urban is a sub-component of the space. And that space is contested by agriculture ministry, industry ministry, port ministry, and land ministry, and so on and so forth. So this is this is the second year where this is coming, and this is one great platform, and 2-3 major projects, regional corridor project experiences that are coming together in this. So what is happening? We are trying to, this was the committee which Bruno mentioned. This was a national committee which is chaired, and then the committee gave this recommendation that you need to create this spatial planning structure. Because at the national level, it is 1:10 million or 0.5 million, 1:1 million or 1:500,000, going down to the scale, understanding, but this planning is necessary, otherwise we'll invest, but the benefits will not probably get distributed in a large region. And as a result, the committee which was chaired by one of the former bureaucrat, which is called High Level Committee of Urban Planning in India, it has recommended formation of 52. One, it has recommended a spatial planning structure, bring clarity to this structure, so that you have urban, region, a province, a district, and so on, and those content. And more you go up, more ministries have to come together. So that's the whole of government approach. And it has also created that 25 city regions. Because the growth which is happening in India, which is entirely focusing on these 5-6 clusters. So if India has to feed so many people who are coming in the urban area, we have to lift a large amount of population out of poverty. We have to distribute this prosperity to different spheres and economic region of India. And that is what, this is our experience, that I wanted to share, that this is a committee recommendation, and also there is a PM Gati Shakti platform which is in place. And I'm very happy to be here to learn from you the kind of morning experiences, what I learned from what Indonesia is doing, and I'm also looking forward to listen to all other colleagues for this. Once again, thank you, Bruno, all Habitat colleagues, for inviting me, and looking forward to next 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Saswata. And you opened up with all the important issues. And it's clear, we talk about much more about software than hardware, the institutional software to channel urbanization in positive outcomes. Your emphasis on the city regions, the whole of government approach that is needed, and you mentioned on the 3 capitals. I mean, there will be questions about, because you didn't mention the examples, but more outside is the growth than inside. It means a whole of government, whether it's subnational or national, and whole of government approach also on, I think, KPIs, and you mentioned them. It's labor creation, it's affordability, it's inclusion. All these issues must be stated across the growth areas in the city regions. And in many institutional systems, we are not equipped for that. I think that's a clear message of you. Thank you for setting the tone with these important messages. And